Okay. I've never done StreamYard this way before, just FYI. So we may have some issues, but we're gonna try to work through them. All right, I'm going to let the stream simmer for another minute or about 30 seconds, and then we're gonna get underway. But hopefully everything works out and we don't have any technical issues. This should work. Okay, it looks like it's working on my end. Yeah, Washi, we should be able to do that, no problem. Let me just make sure I'm set up for that. Give me 1 second here. Um, what device? Yeah. Okay, we should be set up for that. Daniel, there will be two different ways to call in. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get this show on the road. Uh, so I know that the stream setup we're using is not ideal. It's not perfect, but we're gonna try to make through the best we can. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get this show on the road. What's up, everybody? I know this is a late start, but I had some things going on tonight. I couldn't get around them, and well, quite frankly, tomorrow was not going to be all that different. So I just decided let's go ahead and knock it out now. I usually like to try to get these things started around 7 at the latest because I know we have viewers on the East Coast and I don't want to get them before they get to bed, but this is the best we can do. So what I might do is do this stream and then do another call-in stream in a couple days that starts a little earlier. I want to do this stream so I can capture the whole, hey, we just got to 3,000 subscribers thing, and then I want to do another stream that allows everybody to participate if they want to. So, how's it going? I hope everyone's having a good evening. I know it's late for some of you, but if you came out, hopefully you'll be able to participate. So, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take viewer calls, and there are two different ways you can call into the show. The first is through StreamYard, and what's going to happen is I'm going to drop a link in the chat in a couple minutes here, and this link will allow you to quickly and easily set yourself up to be able to call into the show and give your thoughts, give your take on what's happened recently, and have a conversation with me for a little bit. We'll probably be letting on people like two at a time or something. And the other way you can get in is through Discord. So you can join our Discord server, and I'm going to be joining the voice chat on stream right now. So if you want to do it through Discord, you can do that as well. And yeah, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link, and you guys are going to click the link to join, or you can use the Discord. But the link is now in chat. So basically, the purpose of this stream today is going to be talking about free agency because we might be done with free agency. We might be done with free agency. No guarantee, of course, but there's a very good chance that we're just done with free agency at this point. So, yeah. Okay, yes, Green Earth, you can come in if you would like to. I am in the voice chat, so if you want to do it through there, that should work. I'm monitoring a lot of different things right now, though, so my head's in a few different places. But I believe that if you join on stream, you should be able to give your takes, Green Earth, if I have set this up properly. Yes, Zilla Hawk. Thank you, Money Huddle. I appreciate it. Okay, so we got
Hey,
our. Oh, hello, hello, Nicholas. What's up?
you can
Oh,
keep on setting it up if you want.
no, 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 no. I was just saying we're starting to get our first few call-ins, so there is going to be a queue. I can't get everybody at once, and we're probably going to get more people than I can have on anyway. So everyone, just wait and don't leave the line, or else you'll get pushed to the back of the line. Anyway, okay, Nicholas. So, or Green Earth, as the chat might know you better by.
Yeah,
Free agency is basically over. I think we may have one or two moves left, but it's very likely we're done. I've kind of broken down why. So, how do you feel about where the team is right now?
I feel fantastic.
Okay.
This is an A plus for me. The average signing is nice. I feel like it fits the Waldron scheme very well. But more than anything else, I am loving the defensive management so far.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The Hyder and the Dunlap signings were very team friendly. They were cheap. They were good. And it will bump us up from having a sluggish start to pass rush for the season to it now being a codified strength. And if we go take a look at our opponents this year, we're going to be facing teams like the Rams and the Niners, which Matthew Stafford, whatever rookie the Niners are going to be bringing in, we should be able to hit him because they're not very mobile. So I'm looking forward to those games.
Yeah, the pass rush that the Seahawks should be bringing into this season is pretty imposing. It looks like we go like 7 or 8 players deep with guys who should be at least somewhat competent at getting a pass rush home. So, and it's not like in previous years where we went into the season thinking to ourselves, "Oh, we really need Dion Jordan to have a good season, or else we're in trouble." Or last year even, we really needed Bruce Irvin, or else we were going to be in trouble, and we were in trouble when Bruce Irvin didn't do anything or got hurt or whatever. But you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this year that should not be a thing.
Even if one guy gets injured, let's say, even if Dunlap is out for a few games, we should still be able to get home, still be able to hit guys, which is good considering injuries happen all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So do you think we're done? Is there anything else you would like to do at this point? Keeping in mind that in order to do something else, you're going to have to give up something in all likelihood.
Do not like getting rid of Diggs or Lockett. That's the
Yeah,
direction I'm
yeah, those are
thinking.
the two moves I can see.
Diggs is just too much of a playmaker to give up, in my opinion. And Lockett, I would be scared to think that would look good. It's a very risky gamble.
Oh,
And
it definitely is. It's one that I'm interested in just because Lockett, I've been doing some research on this today, and I'm going to make videos about this eventually. Lockett is not the kind of receiver who I think fits what Waldron likes to do. Like the one time he had a receiver in the last few years who was like Lockett, it was Brandon Cooks. And Brandon Cooks, his last year in LA, had like 550 yards and was clearly the third most used receiver on that team. So that's kind of what I'm trying to avoid when I talk about stuff like that. But it is daunting to move
but
on from a player like that. Absolutely.
it is the Waldron screen, but at the same time, it's Russ's scheme. He has a lot of juice connection right there. Something I don't think that
Hmm.
sort of rapport, that understanding. I don't think that's something really Goff can take advantage of, like Russ can, or um,
It's true. It's true. Good players
and
are good players sometimes. There's absolutely some validity to that.
like you plop Khalil Mack in whatever scheme he's going to do well. It doesn't really matter what the defense is doing. I feel like that applies here as well. To some
Hmm.
extent, he can build it around Lockett if he needs to.
Hmm.
I'm not opposed to bringing in AB, but the fact that we would have to cut Lockett, I'm scared.
All right. I'm gonna bring somebody else in. I think this is Jose. Jose, is that
Hey,
you?
hey, Brendon.
Hey, Jose, how's it going?
What's going on?
So, we're 2 weeks into free agency. What do you think so far, man?
I like it.
Hmm?
The only thing I don't like is isn't perfect, but besides that, I can't complain.
Yeah. I mean, whatever Posick ends up doing for us this year, at least he was cheap. Like, paying $3 million for a guy who ends up being your backup center, if that's the route we choose to go, is not ridiculous. That happens all the time. So, Jose, I'll ask you, is there anything else you would like to do this offseason before we get to the draft, or do you think we're done in free agency? Are you good?
One more receiver would be nice, in my opinion.
Receiver, yeah. We have conversations about AB in the Discord all the time, and I know Green Earth, who's actually on the call right now, has shown some interest in it. A lot of people have a lot of interest in it.
I can't hear him, so.
Oh, you can't hear him?
No.
Okay. I can't hear him either. Maybe I need to join Streamlabs.
I believe you.
Okay.
I'll just.
I believe I've heard him before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So yeah, I really feel like this pass rush going into 2021 has a lot of different things going for it. It's more exciting than any pass rush we've had in a long time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, since 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of did a video about this, but we have a lot of variety here. We have Leos, we have 5 techs, 3 techs, 1 techs. There's a lot of flexibility in there too, because Puna, I think, is going to play 3 tech this year, but we know he can play the 1 tech. We have a couple 5 techs who could play 3 tech. LJ Collier is probably going to be a 3 tech, but we know he can play the 5 tech. So there's a lot of different fronts we can throw at these teams, which is really exciting to me.
Right. Finally, it's been 8 years of just running the same stuff at teams.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to have a real mix, finally.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, there's nothing about this team that is like, oh, we really need a guy like Dion Jordan to show up or Barkvarius Mingo. We're not depending on any of these guys who got run off of other teams. So that's a very much a positive thing.
Or even Jamal Adams.
Yeah, to a certain extent. Okay, I think Green Earth is just coming in through StreamYard, so I'm going to go ahead and bring him in here. Hey, Nicholas, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. I heard you.
You should.
Now I can hear.
All right, cool.
Now I can hear.
All right, so I'm going to have to try to figure out what we can do about maybe doing a cross between Discord and Streamlabs, but this will work for now.
Yeah.
All right. So, let me see here. Nicholas, I made a video about this a few days ago, talking about the offensive line, and I said, other than Gabe Jackson, it's the same offensive line from last year. Are you okay with that? Because I think a lot of Seahawks fans are, and a lot of Seahawks fans aren't. Nicholas, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, did you hear what I just said?
Yeah. You said the offensive line's mostly the same.
Yeah, are you okay with that? How do you feel about that?
I don't see any real big downside to it. Gabe Jackson sounds good. And as much as people like to dunk on the offensive line that we have right now, is anyone really that mad at Dwayne Brown? Is anyone that really mad at Posick? Really, any of those people really that mad at him? I think that's just sort of all in review. You get mad about it, but it's the current time we all realize where the problems were. And I feel like we addressed them when we brought in the new offensive coordinator.
Okay, that's cool. How about you, Jose? What do you think?
I'm good with everything. I just want Russell to get the ball out quicker. And that'll solve a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, Wilson holds onto the ball a long time, and it's not easy to block for Wilson because you don't know where he's going to be. The play will be called for him to be in one place, but he takes off and he's in another place, and you don't know where you're supposed to be blocking for. You're blocking for Like I always use this example, Matt Hasselbeck. Matt Hasselbeck was always in the spot he was supposed to be in, so you knew where you were supposed to be blocking.
It's like blocking for a ghost. You don't know where the ghost is gonna go. You just know it's gonna move around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the same time. It is one of his biggest strengths, his ability to sort of get out in the open and throw a big deep ball. That's what when he says "let me play my game." That's what he's talking about, is throwing the big deep ball to someone like Metcalf, and that's one of the classical strengths I feel like we should be leaning on, maybe a bit. But
I'm not disagreeing with that, but at the same time, if you want to stop being hit, he needs to stay in the pocket a little more often. That's all.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, you're going to make a lot of big plays from it. On the other hand, you're going to have a lot of bad plays from it, and you have to decide at what point is it too much of one thing. There's supposed to be some sort of like nirvana point where everything works pretty well with regard to that, and I don't feel like last year we were really there. I think it was too much Wilson running around getting into trouble because he was just putting himself in bad places.
And a lot of deep play calls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The play calling didn't help either. When nobody gets open. When nobody gets open, what are you going to do? It's tough.
The play calling was shit. Let's say what it was.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited personally for the screen game. That was something I felt like the Rams did pretty well. Something we started out strong with, but now we didn't do it whatsoever. It fell off the map. We should be able to get back to it.
They did it well against us. I know that much.
Mm-hmm. You know, we got absolutely shit on by that sort of plays, and we can turn the tables with the roster we have right now.
Especially with Garrett Everett.
Yeah. I remember a couple years ago we played a game against the Rams and we lost 28-12. It was 2019. And I remember after that game, one thing that Pete Carroll said about the Rams offense that was really hard for him to deal with was their motion. They used motion a lot. They were constantly putting their receivers in motion and was really hard for him to defend against. So, that's fine. But what I'm thinking is, why don't you use motion in your offense? Because we don't really do that. So if it's something that works really well against you, then why not do it against other teams?
Is the modern day equivalent of a Roman general getting his army smashed by Hannibal Barca because he refuses to pull any tricks or see into the future. You know, he just wants to play his troops one-on-one, and he gets smashed a lot of times despite having superior talent. There's no way that you can argue Goff is a superior talent to Russ. There's no way you can say DK isn't better than every single one of the Rams receivers. Maybe you can, but we have better talent. It's just a matter of the leadership needs to get out of the headspace that this is how you're supposed to do it.
Also, it's like that same game a couple years ago where the Saints kept using motion and
yeah, that was the game where they beat us with Teddy Bridgewater, right?
Yeah, and the Seahawks defense looked confused the whole game. I was at that game thinking, what the fuck are we doing on defense? Like, somebody let me down there so I can go smack Pete.
Yeah. I think that even when Pete was a great coach many years ago, he did depend pretty heavily on just having better players than the other team and us being able to out-talent them. I don't know if he's ever really been known for out-scheming people, because when I think of his base cover 3, I don't think of an offense a defense that outsmarts the other team. It's just putting these guys in the same basic position on every play and saying, okay, try to make a play against our guys because they're the best in the league, and that only works so long.
That's part of the reason I'm excited for this pass rush this season. We have a lot of guys who can do a lot of different things, deploy them in different ways, mix it up a lot.
I think that changed last season. We started using Jamal Adams to blitz more
Mm,
off the edge.
yeah.
I'm not in that drop safety position.
Right. Well, you're not going to trade for Jamal Adams and then not blitz him because, that's like buying a Lamborghini and deciding you're only going to use it to go to the grocery store. You have to have a plan to use what you acquire, especially when you give up all that stuff to get it. And in the defense of this defensive coordinator, as much as we don't really like him very much around here, I think he did do a pretty good job blitzing a safety a lot when he had never really done that before.
Well, they did it at USC with Troy Polamalu, but that was what 18 years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Green Earth, I got to let you go. I'm got to bring somebody else on. But
my final message is don't be disappointed if we get a corner. I see it coming from a mile away. I know where they're going.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go over a lot of draft stuff in the near future, but yeah, corner will be a heavy part of that. So thank you, Green Earth, for coming on tonight. You're obviously always around the Discord and around the videos, so I'll be seeing a lot more of you. Peace out. Okay, so I'm going to bring on, this is a new channel member, actually. He joined the channel recently. ItsHoof. And he has recently, I think he just found my channel fairly recently. So ItsHoof, how are you doing tonight?
No, pretty good. Pretty good.
Good to hear. I'm quite good tonight. I'm getting started a lot later than I wanted to because I had some stuff going on, but whatever, we're here now. So basically, we're here to celebrate getting to 3,000 subscribers, but what we're really here to talk about is these last 2 weeks of free agency. How do you think it went? What's your take?
I mean, if I had to give it like a grade, I'd give it probably B+, A-. It's very solid. I still feel like we might be missing a couple pieces. I feel like it's kind of the general consensus around, like this, the fans with us. I think, honestly, I think we could use another corner. And I was curious, what price would you want to bring back Dunbar at?
The price that I quoted that I would have been interested in him for was 2 years, 12 million, because that's very close to what Josh Norman got last year, and I felt like Dunbar was in the exact same position that Josh Norman was, except for the fact that he's just younger. But it seems like he's going to want a little more than that, and I don't think anybody's going to give it to him. He doesn't realize how bad he was last year. But yeah, I think bringing back Dunbar for like $6 million a year would have been workable. At this point, I might rather just bring in a rookie because Carroll has shown an ability to get rookie corners and get them playing well immediately. He's done it many times in Seattle. Sherman played really well as a rookie. Shaquille Griffin played really well as a rookie. Trey Flowers played pretty well as a rookie. That's something that he's done pretty well, so let him do that.
Sure. I agree.
Okay, Jose. So no problem. I just had a little bit of a technical difficulty over here, but you're still on. So, Jose, you what do you think about the cornerbacks on this team? Because that's one area that we have a lot of discussions about.
Get a rookie, and I'll be happy. A rookie from Syracuse, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, there are a lot of good rookies in this class that play cornerback. I've been over Tyson Campbell, Benjamin St-Juste, Keith Taylor Jr. I think is going to be pretty good. There are a lot of good cornerbacks in this draft, and some of them you could get in the 4th or 5th round, I think. So this is a good draft class to need a cornerback in, I think.
Right, I agree. Anyway, thanks for having me. Congrats on 3K.
Okay.
Go Hawks.
All right. Thank you, Jose. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So ItsHoof. What do you think about the Antonio Brown stuff? Because that's another thing we talk about all the time on this channel.
Honestly, I mean, I feel like we, for the right price, it would be a good fit. But again, that price would have to be pretty cheap, and I don't know if we can be that competitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the thing is, very few teams have shown any interest in him. The Buccaneers have, but they've already kind of said, we're not going to give you any real money. You're just going to take what we give you, and that's all we're going to do. The Ravens are interested, but it seems like receivers don't really want to play there because
Yeah,
Lamar.
a lot of players have just completely skipped over bigger money, like to avoid Lamar. I don't know. It's a little strange.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about this defensive line? Let me ask you about that because that's the part of the team I think people are the most excited about right
I
now.
mean, there's no way to not be excited about it, you know? Going into last year, honestly, uh, I was a little too optimistic about our D line just to have my hopes crushed. And then halfway through the season, we got Dunlap, and he just brought that spark, you know? So when we cut him this year, even though it was expected, it threw me off quite a bit. Oh, my camera's falling. Is glad we got him back. I think him and Carrie Hyder will pair up pretty nicely. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah. There's a lot to like, and I've said it before. I think that LJ Collier will be a lot better playing from
Mm-hmm.
the inside.
I agree. One thing I'm curious about is like, what do you think about the fact that Josh Reynolds signed for $1 million, and we didn't even make a real go at him?
Yeah, that was interesting. I feel like while I think Josh Reynolds is a pretty good player,
Mm,
players like him are a dime a dozen to a certain extent. There are probably 50 Josh Reynolds out there just hoping that some team will give them their chance.
mm,
There's probably a Josh Reynolds who, because of some fluke happenstance, never got his shot and he's tending bar somewhere in Spokane,
mm.
or stuff like that. So, to me, yeah, Josh Reynolds would have been interesting, but is he really going to be that much better than you getting a good enough a decent rookie? Is it
Mhm.
really are you really losing all that much? Because we should have a pretty good offensive system in place this year in Seattle. So you just need somebody who isn't a complete idiot, and he should be able to step in and do pretty well.
Mm.
And by the way, I've actually done a little bit of research. I think that Shane Waldron might like Freddie Swain. I think Freddie Swain might be the kind of guy that he really liked in LA. He's got a similar body type to a Josh Reynolds or a Cooper Kupp. So I have
Hmm.
my eye on that.
I'm really excited to see him this year, honestly, because if you saw him in college, I don't watch much college ball, but from what I've heard, him
Mhm,
after the catch, he's amazing. Like that was his biggest thing coming out of college was how great
mhm,
he was after the catch and what he could do after he caught that, little drag route or whatever. He could get like 10, 15 yards on some spectacular like move that he makes, right?
mhm.
And we just never gave him that chance to really get on the field. I mean, how could we? We already had so many good receivers, but
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I'll say this. The Schottenheimer offense did not make for yards after the catch.
Mm-mm.
It did not. And despite that, Freddie Swain had over 7 yards per catch after the
Mhm.
catch, which is
Exactly.
would have been one of the league leaders. So that's pretty good. Just for comparison's sake, Tyler Lockett had less than 3.5. So that's something.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. I'm
definitely.
gonna pull in Lincoln here. I think Lincoln, welcome to the stream, buddy.
What's up, Lincoln?
Yo, hello.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
Hmm? Okay, so basically, we're just talking about the cleaning up the free agency stuff, man, because it's 2 weeks in. We've spent a lot of money. It might be pretty much over. So, how do you feel about the Seahawks after free agency?
A couple things I was gonna talk about is like the Benson Mayola signing. One reason like I kind of like it and I don't is because I want Darrell Taylor to play, and with the Carlos Dunlap and Kerry Hyder, he probably won't get that much time. But otherwise, I don't really know how I feel about it.
Yeah, I remember those first couple days when free agency started and all these centers were getting scooped up for big money. It was depressing. Those first couple days were tough. And even the first day of actual free agency, I remember sitting there in stream with these guys and everyone was freaking out because it seemed like We weren't spending any money. We weren't even looking at any of these guys, and things really turned around. So that was at the very least encouraging, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy that we brought in Gabe Jackson from the Raiders or whatever. I was pretty surprised about that one. 'Cause I thought they were probably going to cut him, and the Seahawks actually like made a move finally about an offensive lineman.
Yeah, the Gabe Jackson thing was definitely very nice. Um, I I had been talking about Gerald Everett for a long time. Ever since we hired Waldron, I thought to myself, that's our guy. That should be our guy. Gerald Everett. He's a perfect fit for what we will be doing.
Yeah, he's pretty young too, I guess. He's like medium age, kind of.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's
Oh,
a
age
pretty
is
good
not a concern.
signing because he fits in the offense from forgot his name.
hmm
But yeah, I think that was a pretty good signing for tight ends because now he's gonna be our number one. But
hmm Okay, so it's Hoof. I'll go to
Mhm.
you for this next one. This one's kind of tough to talk about, and people tend to get a little heated when we get into this topic. But KJ Wright, at this point, what do you
Mhm.
see with him?
I was just gonna I was just gonna say something about that.
hmm
I mean, I love KJ, right? And he's still great. Like he showed it last year. He still played at a pretty high level. He made the biggest plays. He arguably played better than Bobby Wagner, even though they don't play, the exact same position or anything. Um, I just don't see it. I
hmm
don't see it right now. Unless he literally wants to sign for the smallest amount possible, there's no way. And
hmm
even then, I don't even know if I'd want him to start.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: whatever we do with KJ Wright, if we bring him back, it cannot stunt Jordan Brooks's growth
No.
because we used a first round pick on him. It's time to figure out if he's good or not.
Mm?
We didn't redshirt him as a rookie, but we didn't play him that much, and I really think that's not okay because you used a first round pick on him. But
How many
whatever, it
snaps did he
happened.
play?
I think somewhere around 300. It would have been a little more if he didn't get hurt, and that's fine. But yeah, I it's gonna hurt if we see KJ next year in a Cowboys uniform because that's looking like a very good possibility.
Yeah,
But I think we need to let it go on that one, unfortunately.
I agree. Definitely.
Yeah, Lincoln, how about you? How do you feel about that?
I, about KJ, I don't really know if I want to bring him back because, well, of course, I want to see Jordan Brooks play finally. Like against the Giants, he actually had like a good game. Like I think he had like 10 tackles or something like that. He really improved in that game. And if we can get him starting like that and Bobby Wagner together, that'll probably be a really good duo.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. And speaking of contentious topics, ItsHoof, I'll ask you one more. How about Richard Sherman? I know you asked me about Dunbar, but what's your
Yep.
take on the Sherman stuff?
I mean, I'd like to see Sherman back, whether he plays more of a safety role or he plays that corner role still, which I feel somewhat confident that he could get back to if he stays healthy. I'd like to see him back for 1-2 years. So like, I don't know. Feel alright.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what happens with him in terms of the money
Mhm.
because he barely played last year. The year before he was an all pro. The year before he didn't play very well. So is he in this market going to end up settling for like a couple million a year? Because there is a price point where bringing him back is starting to make a little bit of sense.
Mhm.
And I know many Seahawks fans whose stance on the whole Richard Sherman thing is like I don't want him back, but if we bring him back, I'll like be really emotional about it because he's
Mhm.
Richard Sherman. He's was arguably the face
Yeah.
of our franchise when we won the Super Bowl. He was on the Madden cover.
Mhm.
So it's tough. Lincoln, I'll turn that one on you. What do you think about Sherman?
I kind of want to sign Sherman at the same time I don't because I heard that he might want to switch to safety later, and we don't really need any safety up unless we do trade Quandre Diggs or something like that, which
Right?
I don't think is going to happen. I think we can restructure maybe a contract or two, get a little bit more cap room. But I'd be open to bringing Sherman back.
Yeah, he can probably still play corner for one more year. And the idea is playing corner in this defense should be pretty easy because we're going to be getting good pass rush. It's not like last year when playing corner was the hardest thing in the world because we couldn't get to the quarterback. So there's a little bit of that going on too, but I can't help but feel like we would be better off getting a rookie because, like I said, this is a great rookie class. Hmm
Definitely.
All right, it's Hoof. Do you have anything else you'd like to say before I?
Not really.
Mhm,
Maybe with the
but
next person you could talk about how Jamal Adams will do in coverage this year, considering he's gonna have to play a bigger role in that because we're gonna have better pressure. But
yeah,
besides that,
yeah.
I'll
Well,
say
what I can say about that is that Jamal Adams played really well in coverage when he was in New York. And
mhm,
I don't believe he forgot how to play coverage when he came to Seattle. I think that we weren't using him well. I think he was being put in bad situations. I think that's a big part of the reason why he struggled in coverage sometimes last year. So I'm not really worried about that. I don't believe that the best safety in the league suddenly forgets how to cover just because he changes his uniform. I think that there's circumstantial stuff that's getting in his way.
mhm.
All
Or
right,
forget to
man.
get injured again. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, the way he plays, you never know. But
mhm,
you could say the same
100% all
about
the time.
you could say the same about Bobby Wagner, and he's really
Mhm,
only gotten hurt like once in his whole career. So,
definitely. All right,
all right, man. I will talk
keep
to
up
you
the
later.
grind.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Appreciate it.
keep it going.
Hmm
I'm actually starting my own channel. I'm not gonna shout it out. Don't worry, because it's not even set up yet. But
Yeah.
I'll subscribe to. Mhm.
When you do, I can plug your channel on my channel if you want me to.
Oh shoot,
Um,
nice,
I, I, I do that to all my elite channel members if they want it. But
awesome.
not all of them have YouTube channels, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, man.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you. Keep up the grind. I'm excited
Hmm
for the, regular season content
hmm
too. Since I found you pretty recently, I didn't get to
Right.
see any of that last year, so I'm excited for
Okay.
that.
All right. See you then.
See you, man.
Okay, I'm gonna pull in Washi here, and this is a guy who's been around my channel and Discord for a while now, so I know him. Pulling him in. Washi, welcome to the call-in stream.
Hello.
How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So, I know you've been really eager to get me to do one of these again, and finally we got one. I'm gonna try to get a more consistent schedule of these going from now on, but I know you've got a lot to say, so go ahead. Tell us what you think about free agency so far.
I think it's been good, but I feel like part of free agency has been kind of hindered by the fact that we kind of got to cover up a lot of the needs through free agency, other than like the draft. So that's like one of my main problems with it. I feel like the Jamal Adams trade was, I mean, I like the guy and all, but I do think that trading the amount of compensation that we gave from was not ideal. But I think that if we could flip someone for picks, that doesn't have to be him. I would be pretty happy about it. Maybe Lockett, and then we could get another receiver. But I feel like if we did do Lockett, it would have to been earlier in free agency where we would have other receiver options. But I think that John Schneider will figure out a way to get more picks, and that way we don't have to in the 2022 offseason figure out all our free. We won't have to use up all our cap space trying to re-sign players, and we could use that to go spend big money on other free agents that fill voids.
Right. I've there's obviously been a lot of debate in recent times over whether or not Schneider's going to do a lot of trading in order to get more picks. My thing is, we only have so many roster spots available on this team right now. It seems to me that a lot of the roster spots are pretty well locked up. So if you draft like 8 rookies, let's just say it's 8, and I don't think it's going to be 8, but that's the number that Schneider seems to always be at or above. So you bring in 8 rookies and maybe you'll like 5 of them, but there might only be roster space for 3 of them. I would rather get 3 or 4 guys that I really like rather than 4 guys that, 8 guys that are like, okay, maybe one of these guys will hit. So I'm not convinced that we're going to do a lot of trading to get more picks in this draft for whatever it's worth. But Lincoln, let me ask you. I don't believe you've been asked this. Is there anything left in free agency that you would like to do?
Free agency that I would like to do. I mean, we could bring in Sherman, of course, which I kind of want to do. I mean,
Mhm.
otherwise, there might be a couple offensive linemen left. I think one of the Chiefs.
Yes,
Uh,
the 2 Austins, Austin Blythe, Austin Ryder, both interesting to talk about. I don't know why Austin Ryder is still on the market. I
Yeah.
would have thought that he would have gotten picked up much earlier than this.
Yeah. Otherwise, I don't really know what else we could go after in free agency, because of course we signed Chris Carson
Hmm
and maybe Antonio Brown, but I don't know if I like his off the field issues.
hmm
But otherwise, on the field, he's really good.
hmm Yeah. Washi, what are your thoughts on that? Because we were talking about this earlier in the Discord, and you had a couple thoughts on a couple of areas on this team. So, would you go get any more free agents at this point, or would you be happy with where we are right now?
I think I probably would want to go get Antonio Brown because Wilson wants him. I think he could be a good third receiver option. Then I also think that even if he does not pan out, I feel like Wilson feels like, well, they listened to me, and now it's up to me. Like I feel like he will he'll be happy, and him being happy will translate onto the field, because after the Arizona game where he like stormed up the meeting and all that, like you just didn't see like the same confidence that you saw in the beginning games where the whole like movement started, the let Russ cook thing, and he was I think he knew that they were gonna pass the ball more, but then after that he just wasn't as happy. And I feel like if he's happy, then he'll play better. And I
Hmm
also think that we should get a center, so we don't have to worry about that in the draft. And I think if we do get a center, I definitely think it should be a long term contract, not a short term contract, because I really want to not draft a center in the draft. I'd rather go get a tackle.
Yeah. One thing I will say is that I've done some scouting on the centers in this draft so far, and a lot of them look like they would fit in a power scheme, or a power run scheme, which is not what we will have under Waldron, which is one thing that kind of put me off the idea of drafting a center in this draft, because there were only a handful of guys that seemed like they would fit a zone blocking scheme, and there were only a handful of guys who would be mobile enough to play in Waldron's offense. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to sign Lindsley and then draft a guard, because this guard draft has a lot of guards that I think would work pretty well. But yeah, that's absolutely something that has passed through my mind. Some people, and this is kind of a meme, I know that, really like Quinn Miernens, or however you pronounce it, but I think most of you guys will know who I'm talking about. Maybe he's an option, I don't know, but I don't love the centers in this draft. All right, so Lincoln, I'll kick it to you. This one's a little off topic of free agency, but we've got a 17 game season this year. What do you make of that? How do you feel about that?
17 games. Yeah, I saw that. I don't even know if they're gonna have a bye week this year. I saw a couple players' reactions, like Alvin Kamara. He thought it was pretty bad. But otherwise, I don't really know what I think of it. I mean, more NFL games, I guess that'll be fun. But really, I don't really know. Maybe the players might need a bit of a break in there.
Yeah,
But
I would love there to be 2 bye weeks. Every team has 2 bye weeks. That
yeah, that'd be
way,
pretty smart.
yeah, that way I think you would get a few less injuries, and I think that would be very good and very, very crucial to implementing extra games,
Yeah,
because I'm sure the players are not happy about this.
yeah, a lot of them aren't.
Hmm Yeah. Washi, how about you? Do you have any thoughts on the 17 game season, what it might mean, and whether or not you're for it or against it?
Honestly, I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, it doesn't really affect the fans beyond just having one more game to watch, I suppose. But it's something that I never thought would actually happen, and then it just happened, and it just struck me as being very odd that the players would ever go for that. I know the NFLPA is notoriously kind of weak, but the fact that they would just allow the league to add an extra game like that kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I saw that on the ESPN show or whatever earlier today. It was like getting bobbled around for like a year or so if they were gonna do it, and then they finally decided to do it like not that
Mhm.
long ago.
All right. So okay, here's another one. It might not seem like a big deal, and I don't think it is, but it's worth talking about anyway. Lincoln, I'll start with you. Backup quarterback. Right now, I think the backup quarterback would be Danny Etling.
Yeah.
and because I think Alex Magoo got in some legal trouble. So how do you feel? What's your take on that? Do we need to get better there? Should we get somebody? Should we draft somebody? Or are we good?
I think we could honestly probably draft somebody like in like one of the latest rounds, or I don't even know our latest pick anymore. We traded a couple away, but honestly, I think we just draft someone like pretty late that they just like scouted a little bit. I think that would be a pretty good idea, just so we would have like not a nobody backup quarterback. We have
Mhm.
someone that that's going into the draft.
Yeah, right. I at one point actually wanted the Seahawks to draft Sam Ehlinger in the 7th round, but as time went by and we lost more and more picks, it became clear to me that we couldn't afford to do that. And Sam Ehlinger is probably going to go in like the 5th round, maybe
Yeah.
even the 4th, because they're, at a certain point, quarterbacks are just going to start going. And
Yeah.
Sam Ehlinger had a pretty good career, but it did cross my mind that maybe we could get a backup quarterback that we wouldn't have to worry about for the next few years.
Yeah.
Washi, what about you? How would you approach the backup quarterback situation on this team?
I think looking at Wilson's history of just not really getting injured, I don't really care too much about it. But I definitely wish we did sign Trubisky. I can't say his name.
Trubisky? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah. To like a $1 million per year deal, like the Bills did,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he would be a pretty good backup. But like, I don't really care. I mean, Wilson doesn't really get injured, so
Right. That's kind of what I always say when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like, if Wilson gets hurt, we're just gonna lose a lot of games, and no backup quarterback in the world is gonna make that not the case. So you may as well just not worry about it, because whether it's Geno Smith or Danny Etling or a rookie or Bobby Boucher, you're still going to lose. So what's the difference?
Yeah.
But I think backup quarterback is something that people can't help but instinctively want to talk about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
actually, I do want to add one more thing. Actually, if we do, honestly, I think that to your point, if Wilson does get injured, I mean, we're anyways going to be screwed. There's no point of having a good backup. Like, honestly, if it was me, if we did have like a 1st round pick, I'd honestly just rather lose most of the games and then we can just get a high draft pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's not really on the table this year, unfortunately for us. And that's something that has come up a lot lately that I feel like people forgot. We don't have our 1st round pick next year either. A lot of these people who wanted to trade Wilson, and I feel like maybe they didn't totally understand the fact that trading Wilson means you're tanking, and you can't tank without a 1st round pick. There's no way you're going to be able to trade your quarterback, take a $40 million cap hit for him, and then still reasonably be expected to compete at a high level at the same time. So, yeah, I feel like that part of it was something that got forgotten a little bit by some of the people that I talked with trading Wilson about this offseason. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. If Wilson went down, then the only thing left would just be draft picks. I remember when Peyton Manning was in Indianapolis, and the offensive coordinator at the time said, we don't bother practicing with the backup quarterback. If the backup quarterback comes in, we're going to lose. Like, there's no point in practicing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Lincoln, what's your username on YouTube? I'm afraid I actually don't recognize who you might be if you're somebody who's commented before.
My username on YouTube is King of Madden, I think. I haven't changed in like such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't really post anything.
Okay, that's fair enough. I got a lot of viewers who never post really anything, but
Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming out tonight, but I am going to go ahead and let you go and get somebody else on here.
Alright.
All right, appreciate it. See you around.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to bring in Ethan's Tech World. Ethan's Tech World, welcome.
Hey.
All right, I know who this guy is because he's in a lot of my streams and he comments on my videos sometimes. So,
yeah.
You doing well tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. How's it going?
Good. So, basically tonight we're talking about how free agency went. We're 2 weeks deep into free agency, more or less.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about how we came out of it?
Like Minnie, I was kind of nervous going in, and I did get off to a bit of a slow start. But I think John Snyder has been doing pretty dang good job, especially with the contract structures. Like you, I wasn't a big fan of initially of having Carson back, and then we got the finer details of that contract, and it's really nice. And then it's a nice change of pace of this team like actually going for it and not playing it super safe for the future, which I don't necessarily mind, but I think you have to have more of a balance with that.
Right. I feel like that this team was, in many regards, trying to do what the Patriots do, which is play it safe, don't go all in, and make it so you can compete every year. But in order to do that, you have to draft really well, and you have to have somebody like a Tom Brady who plays at a high level but doesn't take high-end money. And nobody really does that except for him and maybe one or two other players. So, yeah, it's not realistic. You do eventually have to commit yourself, and it hurts. It does hurt. It's going to hurt in a couple years when we have all this dead money from void years. It's
Totally,
going to hurt when Dunlap might take a cap hit of over $10 million next year. But if we win the Super Bowl now, who cares?
Right, totally.
Yeah, Tampa Bay's going to be in some serious pain in a couple of years, but what do they care? They're going to win Super Bowls right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, for most things, the majority of winning cures all.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Washi, anything else you wanted to talk about while you were on tonight? I know you have a lot of thoughts about what this team should do. Anything else you want to go over while you're on as we head toward the draft?
It's not about the draft, but I just want to say that I feel like a lot of people, when we bring Waldron in, assumed it's going to be like the exact same thing as like the Rams offense. But like when you look at the Packers, right? I mean, LaFleur, he came from Los Angeles with McVay and all. But like when you look at their offense, it's really not like the Rams. It's different. I think he picked up a lot of things from McVay, like a lot of the motion stuff, the creativity they adds to offense. But I think they have deep shots that McVay never had in his offense. They don't do as much of the wide zone. I saw them doing a lot of inside zone type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Carson is still a scheme fix. I think that Waldron will, he won't run the same thing. I think he'll definitely tailor the offense depending on the personnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the sign of a smart coach. He knows how to adjust to what he has. Bill Belichick went from having Tom Brady, who never ran with the football, to having Cam Newton, and he certainly changed the way he did things on offense. But my thing is, what I'm really wondering is there are certain skills in the NFL that are objectively good, like yards after the catch. You would always rather have a good yard after the catch player than a bad one. So it's not as if having good yard after the catch talent is a matter of personal taste. It's a matter of it's just better. So when I look at Shane Waldron's offenses and I see a lot of players having really high yards after the catch, and then I look at a guy like a Tyler Lockett who has terrible yard after the catch skills, I wonder if that's going to work.
Right. But like I know it's definitely to have a better yards after catch player, but at this point, I think if they were to move off of Lockett, I feel like they would have done it by this time, because I mean the draft capital that you would get for someone like Lockett it's not much, because a lot of the wide receiver needy teams are like, for example, like the Jets and the Dolphins. Both of them are loaded with draft picks, and I highly doubt that they're actually gonna go trade for someone like Lockett, and I don't think you could get much draft compensation for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when you do trade him, let's say get like a second round pick, who are you gonna get? for your receiver 2. Receiver 3 is already a need, and then adding another receiver need on top of that, I don't know what you're gonna do. Maybe you could make Lockett receiver 3 possibly, and then get someone else that's better at Yak. But I don't think you could do that. So I think it's better just to stick with Lockett for now.
Yeah, it is possible we stick with Lockett and just use our second round pick on a receiver. I actually found a few guys that I liked when I was scouting. So Ethan's Tech World, I'll pull you in here. At this point, is there anything you'd still like this team to do before free agency ends? Because there are still players out there. The draft isn't for a month. Is there anybody that you have in mind looking at the remaining player pool?
I mean, you could like a lot of the things that you can say that we could use, like another wide receiver and stuff. I like those more in the draft. But obviously we don't have all of the choices in the world. We only have a couple, and they're pretty spread out for the most part.
Right.
So I gotta say I'm pretty happy with what we've done. Like, I'm still not a big fan of bringing in older guys. I think I mentioned that a couple of times in like the chat.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's not a whole lot of things. Like, obviously, you could get better versions of the positions that we have added, but that's probably not the best idea, and you don't really need to do that.
Yeah. Once you throw the dice, you don't want to try to catch them and throw them again. Like, to a certain extent, this team has committed themselves to, say, Gerald Everett. And I like Gerald Everett a lot. Some people, he's clearly not as good as like a Travis Kelce, but you certainly shouldn't try to say, oh, wait a minute, we don't like Gerald Everett now. We're going to go get another tight end before we even get a chance to play a game with him or anything like that. So yeah.
And one thing I would add to that is, like, it all matters in the type of scheme that you have. Like, we were talking about Tyler Lockett. He may be really great in the scheme that we have been previously using, but with Shane Waldron and maybe introducing more play action, and as we've said, he'll probably have to block some 6'6" guys. That probably won't work so well.
Right.
So, and same with tight ends, like Travis Kelce, top 2 in the NFL, and you could argue he'd probably be great in any system, but there's positions of all in the NFL that would be great in a certain scheme and not great in another.
Yeah, and I just can't help but notice the last 2 years, Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp have been two of the best receivers in the league in terms of yards after the catch. And the Rams offense in general has been one of the best in the league in terms of yards after the catch. So that seems to be his type. He also likes guys who are a little bigger. All the receivers that the Rams had last year were at least 6 feet tall and at least 195 pounds. Tyler Lockett is none of those things. He's probably, without looking it up, I would guess that Lockett is one of the worst yard after the catch receivers in football, and he's certainly small. So
Right.
But the thing is, it's up to him. You go to him and you say, do you think you can use Lockett or not? And if he says yes, then you keep him. If not, then you don't. So it's really hard for us to know what Waldron's actually thinking with regard to some of these players. All right. All right. So, Washi, I know you're into you were really into the whole 49er thing that happened, and this pertains to the Seahawks as well. So why don't you tell us about your thoughts on the 49ers acquiring that third overall pick and what they might end up doing with it, and what your read is on that whole situation?
With the 49ers
Yeah.
trading to the third overall pick, I mean, if Zach Wilson does not get drafted by the Jets and he gets drafted by the Niners, I think our division's screwed, because I think he even said himself that, like, the best offensive, like, in the NFL that would fit for him would be the Niners, and I think it does, because he has really quick release. He gets the ball out quick. He's decisive. He's accurate. He's on the money like every throw, and it's not Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jimmy Garoppolo, he hits basically every throw, but he's just not like, he doesn't have the playmaking ability. But that's kind of what you need. And I think Shanahan, let's say if he's having like an off day or something, Shanahan can scheme around him. And I think when you've looked at Shanahan's track record with QBs, he's elevated QBs up big time. And I don't think Kirk Cousins was pretty freaking good with Shanahan. And you're looking at Kirk Cousins right now. He's not that good. You're looking at Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is consistently a 4,000-yard passer, but he doesn't have as many touchdowns as he used to. He's just not as good as he was.
Oh yeah, he won an MVP with Shanahan. Right. And ever since Shanahan left, I don't think he's won a playoff game. Or no, he has one playoff win.
Right, and I just think that if I as a Seahawks fan, someone that's in the division, I really hope they do draft Mac Jones, because if Shanahan gets someone that's mobile, and I think if Shanahan does want Mac Jones, I mean, maybe he knows more football than me, obviously. So maybe Mac Jones is a better for the Niners, but like just from an outsider's perspective, I don't think he's good for the Niners. I'd rather take like a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance, because they have playmaking ability, unlike Mac Jones. And I would hope they draft Mac Jones.
Right. All right, so Ethan's Tech World, we're heading into April, and April's the month of the draft, obviously. I don't know how much you specifically watch college football or watch draft coverage. Everybody's going to be different on that kind of thing. But heading into the draft month, what are your thoughts on what the Seahawks should do to finish up this offseason?
Going into the draft or at the draft?
Well, heading towards the draft. What should we do with our picks? What kind of players should we be looking for? Do you have anybody in particular that you like?
Oh, well, I'm a big fan of the idea of getting a center for the second pick. Obviously, anything can change. But also, like, for a long time, I've been a fan of the Tyson Campbell cornerback. And I was watching some other videos, mostly your Seahawks videos. Don't get me wrong, but some other ones, and they're saying that Campbell can go much earlier.
Yeah, a lot of these players can.
Yeah, so it's like, maybe that really nice idea of getting like a Creed Humphrey in the second and then a Tyson Campbell in the fourth might be stretching it a little bit for the Tyson Campbell section.
Right. Well, the thing is, if you don't get Tyson Campbell, there are other corners you can get. I think I was talking with Washi a little earlier today, and he said that there are some good corners you could get in the 7th round in this draft. And I kind of think he's right. The guys who I think you could get in the 4th round, maybe Benjamin St. Juste, I think is going to be really good. I like Keith Taylor Jr. There are a lot of guys who are very Seahawky at that position, and somebody's going to slip to the 5th or 6th.
Sure. Yeah. And I don't watch a ton, like, I don't really watch much any of college football. I'm really more paying attention to it when the draft comes around and learning about them more. So I'm not the best person to, like, I don't know everything about that stuff. So I've just been learning about them a little bit as I go.
Yeah, I don't watch a ton of college football either outside of the draft. I have a team that I root for in college football, of course, and I watch them, but I don't watch a lot of the other teams. It doesn't concern me very much especially if they're out of conference. But yeah, I think that you can still look at your team and say, this is what I want, this is what we need, and go from there. So, let's see here. Okay, so I'm starting to wind things down for the night. There aren't a ton of people around because I started so late, which is why, like I said, I'm probably going to do another one of these in a couple of days. I just wanted to do one tonight because I hit 3,000 subscribers today. but I want to do a longer one with a bigger audience at some point in the next few days. It was just kind of an unfortunate timing thing. But yeah, Washi, I want to say thank you for coming on tonight. You were a good guest, and obviously I'll see you around in the Discord and the YouTube chats. But thank you for coming on, Washi.
Oh, thanks, bro. See ya.
See ya. All right, so Ethan, I'll ask you one last question before we start wrapping up here. What's your take on the KJ Wright thing? I've asked a couple people about this tonight because that's a very tough one for us right now, us Seahawks fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you mentioned Sherman, I think you mentioned AB, but I don't think you mentioned anything about KJ. What's your take on that situation?
I'm not a big fan of bringing him back. Like he's still great, and had arguably one of his best seasons last year. But you don't draft in the first round a linebacker to keep him waiting for that long. And I found that Jordan Brooks had some really nice has some really nice potential, and when you just keep them playing a very minimum amount of snaps and not a very high percentage, then you can't really see what you have there, especially someone in the first round who's extra important.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say this, like at a certain point, you need to see whether the guys you have are any good. And I want to say this also applies to Cody Barton, who I know most people don't like, and I'm not too high on him either. But we need to find out if he's good or not, because the worst thing would be using a third-round pick on a player and then not playing him and then letting him go somewhere else and become good. So I kind of want to see what Cody Barton can do at linebacker this year, personally. For not just Jordan Brooks, but even BBK could get in on that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm all right with that too.
All right. Anything else you want to say real quick before we wrap it up tonight, Ethan?
Oh, I think there was one thing. Maybe I forgot. I think I forgot. I'll probably remember right after I log off. But happy 3,000 subscribers. You deserve much more.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to do this again in a few days because, like I said, this started a little late. But thank you for coming on tonight.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, see you later. All right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. I usually go a little longer with these call-in streams, but it's a little late, and I think a lot of people aren't down. A lot of people aren't up and feeling like calling in this late. That's on me. I had some things going on tonight. I normally would have started this around 7 o'clock, but couldn't do it. It happens. So, yeah, I will be back tomorrow with at least a stream. I might stream Strikers a little bit tonight, by the way, so come out and watch me play Persona if you want to. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Peace out. Go Hawks. Thank you for calling in, and look out for another call-in stream soon because I want to do a more full one. I just wanted to make sure I did this today because, well, I hit 3,000 today. All right. See y'all later.